I, Shirley, Botchwey,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
Kindly resume your seat, Honorable Minister.
And your mic off after I let my one use it.
Yes. Honorable, you have been a 4-time member of Parliament. You served on the Committee on Foreign Affairs. You've been a minister of the same ministry for the last 4 years. So we know quite substantially about you. So you start by giving us a brief introduction of yourself, and then members will ask you questions based on your CV and your work already done. So you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Chair, my name is Shirley Botchwey, a mother of 2, a grandmother of 1. I am single. I was a member of Parliament for 4 terms. First 2 terms, member of Parliament for the Wager constituency, which at the time happened to be the most populous constituency in the country. Eventually, it was split into 3. And I became member of Parliament for the constituency called Anya Sotio for 2 terms. During my first term, I was fortunate enough to be made Deputy Minister, first at the Ministry of Information. Then I was moved to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. From there to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and again back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Honorable Chair, after that, in my second term, I served as ranking member of Foreign Affairs for 4 years. During my third term as Member of Parliament, I served as an ECOWAS parliamentarian. In my last term, Honorable Chair, which is between 2017 and 6th January 2021, I served as Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. Honorable Chair, this is a short description of who I am.
Yes. Now, Honorable Member, the floor is open. Yes. Yes, Honorable Member for Boko Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just to find out from the Honorable former Minister, former Member of Parliament and nominee, what effort is being made to enable Ghana have access to the COVID vaccines, which is so badly needed by all countries? What effort is your ministry making given that it's abroad, dealing with institutions abroad, dealing with global institutions responsible for healthcare delivery and financing of healthcare, and the situation of developing countries? What effort are you making?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. This question, like the Honorable Member said, does not apply directly to my ministry. However, because we do not produce vaccines here, definitely efforts must be made by the country to procure vaccines outside. Also, we belong to ECOWAS, and in ECOWAS we have the West African Health Organization. We also belong to African Union, and under the African Union also we have the African CDC. And therefore, efforts that are being made internally with countries that produce vaccines, and also efforts are being made collectively within ECOWAS under the West African Health Organization, and also efforts by the African CDC. Honorable Chair, I'd like to say that the nitty-gritty of procuring the vaccines does not lie within my domain, but I have been asked to engage two countries that have come up with the vaccines, China and Russia. I have engaged them at the level of the ambassadors, and I have asked them to see what they can do as quickly as possible to ensure that we are able as a country to procure vaccines, because vaccines have become such a hot commodity. Even if you have money, it is difficult to procure. And so, on that level, I have engaged ambassadors. At the level of ECOWAS, there are efforts being made, and this is also under the purview of the health ministers. Efforts are being made to procure, I'm told, about 240 million vaccines for the region, for the ECOWAS region. Also, African CDC is also making a lot of effort to procure for the continent, apart from the efforts that are being made to see what we can do collectively also to come up with our own vaccine. So in a nutshell, this is what is happening, Honorable Chair.
Supplementary to this one. No, supplementary to this one. Follow up on this. I mean, Honorable Minister nominee to Foreign Ministry, and you've been occupying that seat since COVID broke out. You know the threats and etc. You admitted that even if you have the money in the market, you can't easily find the vaccines. So clearly, getting the vaccines is a clear matter of diplomatic, endeavors, engaging with other countries, engaging with multinationals, and engaging at the bilateral and multilateral level. Are you saying that the health ministry is on this path without your leadership, your active involvement, and your direction? And if that is so, what is our chance of ever getting the vaccines?
Honorable Chair, let me say that I know that the health ministry has already made the effort, and they are already in touch with manufacturers of vaccines. And so my job is to engage at the level of the foreign ministry to foreign ministry to ensure that we are part of the countries that are able to get the vaccine. Let me also say that this is even beyond me as a foreign minister. I know for a fact that His Excellency the President at his level is also engaging to ensure that we get the vaccines. And I can assure honorable members that it will not be long before we get vaccines into this country like others have been able to get some amount of vaccines. Unfortunately, it will not be enough to cover everybody, but it will come in tranches as the whole world is doing. Every country has a phased out approach. They have phase one, which is those who are frontliners and all of that. So that's exactly what will happen. But I don't have the nitty-gritty of it, although I am involved.
Chairman, sorry, Honorable Ayaba. In your answer, you just used this word. It will not be long.
Yes.
You want to put a time frame to it will not be long?
Honorable Chair, all I know is that it will not be long. I do not have the power to put a time frame to it. But with what ECOWAS is doing, I know that within the first quarter to second quarter of this year, we will have vaccines. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, let's get back to ECOWAS. And you are a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, a former member of the ECOWAS Parliament. You know that under the original protocol, the members of the ECOWAS Parliament are supposed to be directly elected by ECOWAS citizens to the Parliament. An interim arrangement was put in place where national parliaments nominate members to the ECOWAS Parliament. That interim arrangement has lasted more than 20 years, more than 2 decades. The President of the Republic of Ghana is the current chair of the ECOWAS, Heads of State, Authority of Heads of States. He will be there for 2 years because his mandate was extended that long. The Parliament, the ECOWAS Parliament, I know, started negotiations with the previous chair of Authority of Heads of States. I was personally part of the delegation. You facilitated it, went and met him on this issue of elections. Ghana now becomes the chair. Can we count on you to facilitate an implementation of the ECOWAS protocol that mandates that members to the ECOWAS Parliament be directly elected by ECOWAS citizens?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I am a firm believer in ensuring or in members of the ECOWAS Parliament being elected under universal adult suffrage. It is something that I pushed when I was member of the Parliament, the Community Parliament. At the time, we were looking at enhancement of the powers of the Parliament because it is not right that member states are funding a Parliament and yet that Parliament is only existing as an advisory body, and yet budgets of the Commission of the ECOWAS institutions are not touched by the parliamentarians. In every democratic dispensation, Parliament should have the power to scrutinize monies that are given to institutions. So I am a firm believer, and I can assure you, Honorable Member, that I will engage as Chair of Council of Ministers. It is one of the issues that I really would like to look at with the Parliament, and I'm very open to discussing it, engaging.
I believe my last opportunity. Nominee, the borders have been closed for close to a year now because of COVID. We closed schools because of COVID. We placed restrictions on social gatherings because of COVID, and etc. In spite of COVID, which we now have greater numbers of reported cases and deaths, mortality, and etc., we still have open schools. We've loosened all those restrictions and etc. We have opened the borders, the airport. So those who can afford a flight ticket can come in. But we still keep the borders, the land borders, closed. So that even those who can afford a COVID test will still not be able to come in unless they can also afford a flight ticket. I find this very discriminatory. How soon do you think that you can make a case for the opening of the land borders? And I don't mind putting in place requirements of COVID tests at those land borders, but how soon can you make a case for opening the land borders so that border constituencies like mine will have a better livelihood? Because our economies are tied to being able to easily move across and return. So how soon can you make a case for opening land borders?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me say that Ghana is not the only country that has closed land borders. So it's an effort that must be concerted, an effort that all the countries, all the ECOWAS countries, because really we have an issue with porous borders. We can control the land borders properly so-called, but it will be difficult, and it is difficult as we speak, to control all the long stretches of the borders that are not manned. And so we should leave it to the authorities that are in charge to come up with ways in which they can assure Ghanaians that the country is ready, or our countries are ready to handle the influx of people to and fro. This is very important. But like you said, it is true. There's a lot of economic activity on either side of all the borders, and the closure has brought all these economic activities, has halted the economic activities and is creating economic hardship. I believe that it's something, if God willing, you give me the nod and I become the minister again, it is something that we should quickly look at how to resolve. And it won't be just Ghana, but Ghana with the other countries.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
You admitted
Honorable, I said thank you.
Oh,
you have had your last.
I thought you said I should go ahead.
No, I said thank you for ending it for me. Honorable Yawama, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and congratulations, Minister. Minister, Ghana and China established diplomatic relations on the 5th of July, 1960. we've had two very important agreements we've had two very important agreements with the Chinese government. The CBD loan facility of about $3 billion. We also signed under the first administration of President Akufo-Addo the $2 billion bauxite butter agreement with the good people of China. These two facilities have encountered some form of delays in terms of releases for the implementation of those projects undersigned. Do you foresee any challenges diplomatically between Ghana and China that has caused these delays, especially when we're so much going to be reliant on these facilities for our mutual benefit and economic development? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Indeed, China and Ghana have very close relations. In fact, trade between our two countries is over 7 billion. There's a lot of Chinese investment into this country. And as part of the engagement, we have these two facilities that are still in the pipeline. They may have delayed with some of the projects. I don't know too much about the CDD, but I know that even with the CDD, some projects are being executed. But with Sino-Hydro also, it is more of a slowdown in releases, in approval of the project and in releases, because of course, the monies are not gifts, they are not donations, they are not grants. The monies are monies that are loans that will be paid back. There may be some grant elements, but the monies will be paid back, and therefore, they would ensure that all our processes are in place so that we can access the funds. And you have Sinosure that is making sure that everything is in place. So it's not that the money is not coming, it's just that processes are still in place. Thank you.
Chairman, my second question. We read in the media and followed through the campaign of Ghana to support our ambassador, former ambassador to the UN, Excellency Martha Pobi, to become the vice chair of the AU. But last week, somewhere, I read that she withdrew her candidature at the last minute. Some of us were looking at a lot more of our diplomats occupying very important positions globally and also at the AU. Could you give us do you have any indication why she withdrew? Because I know we are very much interested in getting some of our candidates in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. It is a fact that we do not have enough Ghanaians in international positions, and this is one of the priority areas for me since I became the Minister for Foreign Affairs, when I was Minister for Foreign Affairs. The candidature of Martha Pobi was a candidature that we were all so proud of, because as the first woman PR in New York, she did a great job. And so we were all looking forward to having her at the African Union. It is for that reason that we put her candidature up. However, The candidature to the African Union for any country is the candidature for ECOWAS, in our case. So it is ECOWAS that puts forward the candidatures, or even though it comes from member states. The heads of states, in their wisdom, and this was a very difficult decision for them to take, that several countries had put forward candidatures. However, ECOWAS only had 2 candidatures as commissioners or 1 as vice president. Heads of state consulted each other and decided that peace and security was one of the issues that was of prime importance and concern to them. And also, we live in COVID times, and therefore, Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian, was also another position that could directly impact our region. And so there was a lot of back and forth. Some countries had presented candidates for education, some had presented candidates for macroeconomic investment, some had presented candidates for energy, but in the end, the decision was that we should push for 2 commissioner positions for ECOWAS in these priority areas so that it would impact not just the continent, but also our region. So that was why that decision was taken. And at the very last minute, it wasn't just Ghana that withdrew its candidature, but it was other countries as well who had to withdraw their candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I think it's a very good explanation, and I appreciate it. Chairman, my last question is on AFTA, where I believe the nominee played a very important role in Ghana hosting the Secretariat here in Accra. Honorable Minister-Designate, between 2019 and 2020, it was forecasted that Africa was going to grow at a pace of 3.6% per annum, with a 3% share in global trade. Now, regional integration is very dear to your heart, and I know that for a fact. What benefits do we stand to gain diplomatically hosting the AFTA Secretariat here in Accra? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, Ghana's successful candidature to host the AFCFTA Secretariat is one that I believe will go a long way to help this country. It will impact on economic development. And I say this because as the host country, there are several benefits. One such key benefit is that there will be employment when it's at its full capacity of operations. Also, with AFTA, the Secretariat being here, but for COVID, we would have seen a steady inflow, or influx rather, of a lot of international visitors who are coming for conferences and so on. So it will also impact on our economy. Apart from that, like every other country of Africa, what we do with our private sector, we have a head start as the host country for our private sector to take advantage of what the AFCFTA is offering. And I know that the national office under the Ministry of Trade is engaging the private sector putting them together in order that they can take advantage of the 1.2 billion market, a market with a combined GDP of over 3 trillion. For any country, the early bird, will catch the worm. And so I believe that that's what the Ministry of Trade is doing, engaging private sector, because after it's about the private sector. And so immediately for the country, it's about jobs, it's about people coming in for conferences and so on and so forth, huge conferences, and it's also about our private sector taking advantage. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Honorable.
Most grateful, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to also congratulate the Honorable nominee on her reappointment to the ministry responsible for foreign affairs and regional integration. I want to, Mr. Chair, with your permission, go back to the matter of vaccines and how we can leverage on diplomatic relations and diplomatic skills to beat the queue. As the minister has rightly said, the former minister has rightly said, even wealthy nations, well endowed with a lot of funding readily available, are struggling. The WHO is warning about vaccine nationalization, what they are calling vaccine nationalization. But, Mr. Chairman, I have noticed that some countries have very cleverly been able to get at the forefront of the queue by employing what the pharmaceutical industry calls the fill and finish. So with that one, they are able to put their local pharmaceutical industries in readiness. So the countries that have manufactured the vaccines just have to send them the active ingredients, and then their local pharmaceutical industries will just fill and finish, get the vials, and then the local industries will do the final packaging for distribution. Algeria has done that successfully, so they've been able to jump the queue, and they have received the Sputnik 5 from Russia. The Brazilians have also done that using the fill and finish, and they have got the vaccine from China. They've jumped the queue. Is that something Ghana is considering? And especially, Mr. Chairman, as in the President's 5-pillar objective for fighting COVID-19, the 5th pillar, the President says, is, quote, inspire the expansion of our domestic capability and deepen our self-reliance, unquote. The fill and finish option will help us to achieve this President's pillar by building local capacity and making sure our pharmaceutical industry also plays a part. So is this fill and finish option being considered, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. Of course, it is no surprise because I am not directly with the Ministry of Health. However, in my engagements with China and Russia, I will find out from the Ministry of Health whether it is something that they would like to consider. Because I know that for a fact, we do have very capable pharmaceutical companies here who I'm sure will be able to put together, package the vaccine. So I will find out from them. And if that is something that will quicken the pace for us to get the vaccines, I am more than willing to do that. But they would first have to give me the go-ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I want to follow up on the vaccine matter. The recent policy directive at the airport, the antigen test, which has reviewed the charges down to $50 for ECOWAS nationals, but $150 has been maintained for non-ECOWAS nationals. At a time that we are talking about global solidarity and even appealing to rich nations not to hoard all the vaccines, and they should think about the less endowed countries. I don't like to use that terminology because we have many endowments, but just for the sake of making this point. I mean, the other countries not probably at that level or don't have the sophistication to have manufactured the virus as they have. Don't you think that this directive undermines our foreign policy strategy in trying to leverage on diplomacy to beat the queue and also leverage on our alliances to secure the vaccine as quickly as we can? I don't know if you were consulted when this decision was being taken.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I was not consulted. However, what I know, and I wasn't consulted with regards to how much is charged at the airports, but I know that at ECOWAS, a decision was taken for ECOWAS citizens throughout all the 15 member states to only have the financial burden of any test, COVID-19 test, of $50. And I think it is okay. And reason why I say that is for those who, and I give the example of Europe, there are some charges that are less for those in the Eurozone, those in the Eurozone, and then those outside. And it's done everywhere. I'm sure for SADC, they have some charges that are uniform within SADC, and yet the same service, the charges are higher. So at least that's a start. It's something that, if we so wish, as a continental body, AU might also look at it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if the nominee can come with me to Belgium, this matter to do with our accounts being closed by the ING Bank, some investigative work that Manasseh Azuri-Awuni did. Unfortunately, the House and the Foreign Affairs Committee could not really get the opportunity to look into that matter. But are you willing to share with us the progress? I know that the ministry was doing some work to have those accounts reactivated. And is there anything we should worry about? Is it linked to our current blacklisting on the money laundering list within the corridors of the European Union, as some have speculated?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, the decision of ING Bank to close the account, or the accounts that our embassy in Brussels holds with them, was a decision that came to us as a surprise. Because the accounts of embassies usually, apart from the inflows of compensation and goods and services, and in cases where they have accounts that receive visas and fees and passport fees, nothing else goes through those accounts. So it came as a surprise to us. At some point, we even wanted a joint mission of Parliament and my ministry to go to Brussels to find out. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we could not embark on that mission. But the bank has come back to us to say that it is the right of a bank to disengage from a customer, and they have no responsibility to any customer to give reasons why. To satisfy myself, because the mission could not go to Brussels, I asked for bank statements for all the accounts that are run by the mission, going back 3 years, and we have painstakingly gone through every transaction, and there is absolutely nothing untoward. So I am wondering, just as the honorable member is wondering, and he's asking whether it's because of, we will know soon whether indeed it has anything to do with the blacklisting. However, let me say that I don't know whether or not it has to do with the blacklisting, but I know for a fact that some countries, I'm told about 7 or 8 countries, have also had the same issue with banks in Brussels, and these are embassies. And it may be just coincident that many of those countries are on the list.
Mr. Chairman, the nominee who appeared before us, just before you, the Honorable Minister-Designate for Defense, when we sought to inquire about an agreement involving the U.S. military and Terminal 1 Ghana Airport and McDan Shipping Company, said that probably you may have it, your ministry may have that agreement. I wrote it down here. He says it may have been transmitted to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because he says he has not cited the agreement. Do you know about that agreement? Do you have a copy? Does your ministry have a copy? Does the Ghana U.S. Defense Cooperation Agreement sequel, which has led to Terminal 1, Ghana Airport Terminal 1, being hived off to McDan for 15 years, where the U.S. military has engaged them for logistics and all kinds of handling matters for the next 15 years. We are worried about national security implications, our sovereignty, and all of that. Do you have a copy of that agreement?
Honorable Chair, I haven't cited that agreement at all. I don't have it.
Mr. Chairman, finally, I want to find out from the nominee if her attention has been drawn to the 2019 Auditor General's report on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, page 211. It's a matter that has come up on the floor of this House before. The Auditor General is calling it uneconomic rent payments. That just between 1st September 2017 and 30th September 2018, a total of about $5.2 million, 1.9 million euros, and 128 million CFA, that works out to 220,000 United States dollars, was disbursed as rent for residences, chanceries, and residential accommodations of home-based officers of 33 missions. The rent paid represented more than 50% of the total expenditure on goods and services of the missions. We consider the expenditures to be uneconomical and therefore not in line with prudent financial management. The lapses in the management of rented accommodations by missions, leading to huge rent payments, would need urgent attention of the ministry, since they resulted in a drain on the limited resources of the state. We recommended to the ministry to assist management of the missions to acquire permanent accommodation either through mortgages or outright purchases. We also advised the ministry on the need to develop a clear and comprehensive policy guideline pertaining to the management of rented accommodations at the missions. Such policy should cover areas such as type of properties, mode of payments, and range of rent amounts for officers based on their ranks, among others, unquote. Has this come to your attention, and how do you respond to this important audit finding?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Indeed, that is the case. We are in 58 countries at the level of embassies and about 9 at the level of consul general or consulates. For many of these countries, we will remain there for a very long time to come. And it is important that we find permanent ways of ensuring that we are cost effective in our expenditure, especially with regards to rents. It is for that reason that when I took over as minister in 2017, I was very happy to find a pot of money, 50 million, from Société Générale, that was to be used for purchases, for construction, and also for rehabilitation of our missions abroad. Properties are very expensive, and therefore the 50 million is almost exhausted, and yet we still have a lot of embassies that are renting their chanceries as well as residencies, not just for the ambassadors, but also for staff. So my first way of dealing with it will be to find some more money to outrightly purchase all our properties abroad and renovate and make sure that the properties are what is expected of Ghana. Also, we do have management guidelines, and the management guidelines on rentals have everything to do with the level of staff in the host country. But we must also note that when our officers leave here and they are outside the country, they are diplomats. And as a result, many countries demarcate areas, not formally, not officially, but informally, so that if there's any issue, they'll be able to reach you as quickly as possible. You therefore cannot just rent a property just anywhere and put your diplomats in harm's way. So these are all considerations that are taken into account before decisions on properties are made. But I've taken the point. Indeed, if I get the nod, I would work with the Foreign Affairs Committee. My 4 years as minister, I believe I have the best committee members because they really supported me, and I'm hoping that if I get the nod, I'll have the same level of cooperation from the chairman and from the ranking member and from the vice chair and vice ranking and all members of the committee. Thank you.
Yes, somebody who has not asked a question yet. Yes, Reverend.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Chair, and congratulations, Honorable Minister-Designate, on your nomination. And now to my question. At the heart of Ghana's foreign policy is the promotion of an enhanced image of the state within the Committee of Nations. And fundamental to that will be the structural integrity of infrastructure and properties that are under the oversight of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. In the Minister's just ended response, she did make reference to utilization of a $50 million facility, which were utilized to address some aspects of some recommendations that the former Committee of Parliament on Foreign Affairs carried out. I was privileged to be part of that committee. A number of reports that were carried out arising out of structural inspections of some key properties, missions, and facilities of the ministry were personally conducted. It occasioned a great concern from the committee, and so we carried out inspections. And those inspections uncovered very serious structural defects in irreparable states on some very critical properties, home and in the diaspora. Of particular concern is that of the Accra International Conference Center and that of Ghana's permanent mission to the UN in New York, and a number of other properties that were carried out. Thankfully, subsequent to that, we won a report referring to the minister.
Honorable, can you go to the question, please? Your commentary has gone.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm aware, to my question, I'm aware of interventions that were done to address some aspects of our report, but conspicuously unaddressed are the critical interventions needed for demolition and redevelopment of Accra International Conference Center and Ghana's permanent mission to the UN in New York. There are reports indicating how dangerous the state of these properties currently are. Will the minister consider this needful to address one given the nod as the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, one of the shortcomings that we have, not sure whether to say as a nation or what, but the culture of maintenance is a major problem. Because elsewhere, you have buildings that are 100 years old and they are still standing and have no problem whatsoever because they're always maintained. We have some buildings under the purview of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. One such building is the Pink Lady just across, which is a conference center. It would interest you to know that that conference center is not in good shape, to say it very mildly. Members of the committee have gone there and they were shocked when they went to the basement. What they found, I don't think that we should talk about it here. We need to do something about it. It is the only conference center that belongs to government. When you go outside, whether it's ECOWAS, African Union, and their conferences, everybody wants to come to Ghana. However, we do not have the facilities to host people, and not in the state in which it is. So we will have to do something about the conference center. New York is a typical example. That building, the prime area, the choicest area in New York, and yet every year we are threatened with closure by the authorities. It's got asbestos there, leaking water, heating systems. You will be horrified to find that this is where our diplomats in New York work from. Same with Paris. Fortunately, with Paris, we are reconstructing the chancery. So if given the nod, again, I would love to work with the committee so that we can do the needful, which is to have a new conference center, to have a new New York building that befits the status of Ghana, and to be able to have properties that befit our image, and also to ensure that maintenance is #1 on our list of all properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That'll be all from my end.
Very well. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And honorable nominee, my first question has to do with the staff and other clients of our missions abroad. How are they coping within this COVID environment? And I want to know what measures have been put in place in our missions abroad to make sure that our staff and visitors to our missions are safe. And especially at those missions where they offer consular services, how is it impacting on their resource mobilization?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I'd like to answer the last question first on our revenue. For 1 year now, revenue has taken a huge hit because for about 8 months last year, we had to suspend consular services, which is passports, visas, attestations, and so on. First, because it was not safe for our staff to work, and second, because most of the countries went into lockdown for very long periods. As we speak, countries, because of the second wave, have gone into lockdown again, and therefore it has hit our revenue. But we offer services on emergency basis. Now, our staff, I think it is very important because when it comes to passports, visas, they are in direct contact with the public. Also with consular services where they have to go visit, say, those in detention and so on. So unless it is absolutely necessary, we do not offer these services unless the applicants can assure us that and show proof that the service that is needed is an emergency service. Then we go ahead. We've also, in some cases, in the very big missions, what we've done is we have reduced the number of hours that the staff work. And then they have ensured that there are screens. And of course, all the COVID protocols are in place in all our missions where there is contact with the public. So this is what so far we've done. And I must say that revenue is a problem for the ministry. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nominee. My second question is, in 2020, last year, our President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, traveled to both Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire at different times to attend inauguration ceremonies of their elected presidents. Now, these presidents, we know, worked to get their constitutions changed to enable them extend their stay in office. What will be Ghana's official position on this type of activity?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Indeed, these trips were made by the President in his capacity as chair. For each of the two countries, they did have a referendum. They held a referendum. In Guinea, they did. In Cote d'Ivoire, they did. And the referendum enabled them to go for a third term. We might not agree to it. However, these are sovereign countries. We cannot interfere. There's a lot that can be done behind the scenes. But if it is the country has gone through a process, then there's nothing much that you can do. ECOWAS can do what it needs to do behind the scenes. Indeed, during but this was after the horse has bolted. This is during the campaign. We went on a mission to speak to all, to ensure that the campaign, the elections, before, during, and after are peaceful, and not to put in harm's way the citizens who candidates are seeking to lead. So a lot was done behind the scenes, but these were countries that had held referenda, and so nothing could be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nominee. My third and final question. Ambassador Martha Pobi, we all were very excited about the initial endeavor to get her elected to the EU. And of course, we were heartbroken when she stepped down. Well, in the event that you get confirmed, what will be some of the plans that you can undertake to ensure that women, Ghanaian women in the diplomatic service, actually get to the limelight in the diplomatic organizations and other such international organizations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chair, I was more excited than anyone about Martha Pobi's candidature. I was hoping that she would be the deputy chair of the African Union, because I know what she's capable of bringing to that position. Unfortunately, it was not to be. But let me assure the honorable member that we have in the ministry, I have set up a candidatures unit, which is first of all scanning all international agencies to find out, number one, what are the positions that are coming up that are available, and then number two, finding out who we can put forward for those positions. Because Ghana spends a lot on ECOWAS, on African Union, all the international organizations that we belong to, and yet we do not have enough people in those organizations. One of the reasons I've found, at least with ECOWAS and AU, is because most Ghanaians don't have a second language. And so they do apply, however, when it comes to the short list, then they fall by the wayside because they don't have the French language. When you do the reverse, most Francophones speak English, and therefore they are able to get in. But by the grace of God, if you give me the nod, I hope that I can make an impact in that area, especially in ensuring that Ghanaians and women get positions in international organizations. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your meeting. And hopefully this committee you'd find favor before the committee to continue the good work that you've done. But Honorable Shirley, we have seen and heard horrendous stories and images of Ghanaian female domestic workers in the Middle East particularly, and some of the working conditions that they are suffering and the abuse that they are subjected to is heartbreaking. We also saw how many of them were stranded when the COVID lockdowns across the world took place. And so let me ask, what is being done to protect female domestic workers in the diaspora, if I might put it that way? How many were evacuated back home? And if you would know, how many are still remaining and would need help? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, as a woman for 4 years, sitting in the office of Foreign Minister, not a week went by where I was not horrified by stories of Ghanaian domestic workers in the Middle East, Gulf countries, it is something that I can say was one of my very low points, because you have these young women who go in search of greener pastures, so to speak. Many of them are deceived by unscrupulous agents, even when there's been a ban on these agents to take the young ladies out of the country. There's an underground operation going on in all our regions, recruiting these young ladies, some under the pretext of taking them to become teachers, for them to get to their destination only to find out that they are, in quotes, in slavery. Honorable Chair, many of them end up so traumatized. And I'm sure many of you have heard on radio accounts at the airport when they came of how they were treated, how they were violated sexually by some employers, and how sometimes we've had to evacuate them, not through the general COVID evacuation, but in some individual cases. A lot of them came from Lebanon during the evacuation. Many also came from the UAE, Saudi, Qatar, Kuwait. And I believe they are here. But as government, what we need to do, because I'm not sure whether the banning has cured the problem, because what it has done is now they go underground and they're doing it quietly in our communities. And so you can't hold anybody responsible, because when they come to the embassy and you ask them, who is your agent? Who recruited you? Well, they've taken away their passport. They've taken months and probably sometimes 2 years rent. I'm sorry, not rent, their salaries, wages. They don't know the name. Oh, Baba Alaji or something. Well, in, say, some village, everybody could be called Baba Alaji. So I'm not sure whether they're banned. I think we should go back to registering these agents to ensure that they are accountable, number one. Number two, it is important, like other countries have done, that we have formal agreements. We've done that with the UAE, and we've done that with Qatar, that we have these formal arrangements where we regulate. We know who is going for how many years. At the end of 2 years, they are due leave to come, and if they want to go back, they go back. Other countries have done that, and it's working. We have signed an agreement with the UAE, and what is left is for both sides to sit down and operationalize it. But I suggest that we have these arrangements with all the countries where these young people are received. However, I want to use this opportunity to tell them, and I know I'll get into trouble because that's the last time I said, please, please, if it is possible, stay and let these things be regularized before you leave. But most of them want to travel because they are told that when they go there, it's better than Ghana. Some sell their businesses, hairdressing salons, barbering salons, and they go there only to be disappointed. Now they don't go through the airports again because we are collaborating with the Interior Ministry, with the Gender Ministry, and Employment Ministry. And so some of them are stopped at the airport. Now they don't. They use the land borders and go and get their flights from neighboring countries. Chairman, so that's what I want to say about this. I don't know
if I can, you indulge me, Honorable Osler, to build up on some material fact that I know, and it's important that you brought this matter to fore. Minister, in your answer, you just stated that stay. They will stay where me and you provide better, available, and reassuring opportunities for them by way of employment. And I've had to come in because if you go to your record as foreign minister, I recall I was then Minister for Employment when the minister you succeeded, the Honorable Hannah Tete, we together worked on the first framework to regulate domestic workers in Ghana. Indeed, the meeting took place at the Foreign Ministry. So get your desk officers to debrief you. Because as you rightly said, and Honorable Osler, just pardon me 1 minute to say, the United States of America had downgraded Ghana in terms of some placement that we had to go to the U.S. Department of Labor to make a justification for Ghana to get an improvement. Minister, what you need to do, your counterpart Minister for Employment, there is, and I signed off as Minister for Employment, I took it to Cabinet, but couldn't get it through. Domestic workers regulation, bring it to Parliament to regularize it. Then I leave it there, Honorable Osla. The agency under Ministry of Employment that licenses them, the Labor Department, there are two categories, legal recruiters and illegal recruiters. So the decision and the ball lies in your court. I just thought that I should give you this input so that when you go back, the first framework, particularly for the Arab sub-region, as I recall, Honorable Hannah Tete supervised it in your ministry, and there's a framework we should work with. It's our inability to pass, even in Ghana. It's not in Saudi they are abused. In Ghana here, young girls are abused in people's homes. And we should be concerned about that. Honorable Osla, thank you and time, and thanks for the indulgence.
Yes, you may continue.
Yes, and as you indicated, there are other countries that export labor in a regulated manner, and so their rights are also protected. And I believe, like you indicated, and Honorable Minority Leader has also indicated, we can go down that line and create the conditions for them to have some dignified form of employment, both outside and inside here. So I'm grateful that you say you take it up as a matter of urgency if given the nod, because it is a matter which is of great concern, I'm sure, to every member of not just this committee, but the whole country. Now, what would you say are your two key achievements and your two major challenges in the past 4 years?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Two major achievements. I can think of many, but to do with passports, we've been able, since I was minister, or since I became minister, or during my tenure as minister, we've been able to, first of all, increase the number of passport application centers that I came to meet, which means that we are bringing passport acquisition close to the applicants. We have also, in collaboration with a private sector operator, set up three...
Chama, sorry, we are following you through. You've increased it from what number to what number? From which capital in which region in Ghana for our record?
Yes, Leader. We have set up a passport application center in Tema, in Koforidua, in Cape Coast, and in Wa. And we are almost close to completing preparations for the Upper East. We are also, Yes, we are also going to ensure, if I'm giving the nod, that the 6 new regions have their passport application centers. What we've also done, Honorable Chair, is to make passport application fully online. So far, it is working very well. So people are able to fill out their forms online. They are able to get their the dates and to choose which passport application center they want to visit. That is working very well. We have also increased the passport booklets, the pages, for those who are frequent travelers to 48. So you have an option of 32 or 48. Also, as we went round, Ghanaians complained about the cost, the Ghanaians in the diaspora complained about the cost of passports. As a result, Cabinet approved the reduction of the price of passports outside the country. We have also increased the number of passport application centers all throughout our missions abroad. And therefore, most missions, apart from I think 6 or so, now are able to take the biometric details of people, and then we've also increased the printing hubs from 6. Now we have about 15, so that it's easier for applicants to have their passports printed and sent to them quickly. We have also, well, we are almost at the tail end of bringing on board or changing from biometric to chip-embedded passports. And it's something that I believe will go a long way to ensure that security of passports is ensured. On visas also, we have moved from the visa sticker, handwritten. Very soon we'll all see that visas are biometric. So these are 2 very important areas of, I believe, achievement, apart from what I've done to build the capacity of the Foreign Service officers by setting up a Foreign Service Institute, which will be ready for their use soon to build their capacity. I can go on and on and on.
Yes, I can say that. But Ghanaians living abroad complain that the cost of obtaining a Ghanaian passport or renewing their passports is high. Do you have any plan to review that? Do you engage them? Do you engage the Ghanaian campus, explain why it is for them, it is that high compared to those living in Ghana?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, this is the feedback that we got from Ghanaians in all the countries, especially the European and the Americas. And as a result, the proposals that were brought to Parliament for the reduction were approved, and it's in operation. Thank you, sir.
No, I have to go here. Yes, Honorable Judge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity. Honorable nominee, the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, has made a lot of strong statements in support of LGBTQ rights. As the technical advisor to the President on our foreign affairs, what advice will you give to the President in respect of LGBTQ rights in Ghana? Bearing in mind that he has said that he will sanction countries that do not conform with diplomatic and economic sanctions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, Ghana is a sovereign country, but as part of our foreign policy, we engage countries all over the world. America is one of our strongest friends. But in this country, we have laws, and our laws work and must work. And so, in spite of what somebody would say, and in this case, President Biden, the laws of Ghana criminalize unnatural, I believe, is carnal knowledge. Am I right? I'm not too sure. Yes. Yes, that's what it falls under. And therefore, the laws of Ghana definitely are prime or primary. And that is what we all adhere to, the laws that we enact. Of course, culturally also, we have our cultural norms that we all adhere to. And so as much as he would say that, we also, as a sovereign country, must speak to the laws of the land. I think what he's interested in also is to do with human rights abuses. And we are a country that adheres to the rule of law. And so I think that we are on solid ground where that is concerned. The laws of Ghana.
Okay, a quick follow-up on that one. You mentioned on natural canal knowledge, that is section 104(1)(c) of Act 29, 1960. Will you be an advocate for a repeal of that law? Because Biden again has said that the embassies should have a discussion with the host state to decriminalize laws that don't favor LGBTQ rights people. So will you advocate for a repeal of that law?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This is the House of Laws. This is where laws are enacted. And therefore, I believe that the question must be asked whether Parliament is ready to repeal any such law. Fortunately, I cannot include myself because I'm no longer a parliamentarian. So Parliament must let us know whether this is what they want to do.
Thank you very much. I don't think Parliament
Chairman,
has any such intentions.
Yes,
Thank
Minister, even though this is Parliament, by the very provisions of the Constitution, particularly under Article 103, 106, the executive remains the source of, or the initiator of legislation. Parliament does not on its own just wake up and wanting to work on laws. So take note of that. And then my attention has been drawn to the fact that there is LI 1408, Chairman, I got it right, or 24. The domestic workers regulation is law. I understand that the regulations were passed. So you should be activating and implementing it instead of collaborating to get it passed. LI 2408, just for the record. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. She isn't done. Are you? You're done. Okay. Right. Okay. Honorable Tampuli.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Ayoko Botchwey, I'd like to congratulate you on your re-nomination as the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. I want to take your mind to our fellow compatriots who were extrajudicially killed in 2005, I believe, in Gambia. This is a matter that has gone through different regimes, and I'm not sure we have had finality on the matter. Now, 2 Gambian soldiers, were heard to have confessed that there were state actors who were involved in the killing. Ghanaians, Senegalese, Ivorians, and I believe a Nigerian were all involved. Now, that was a matter that happened at the time when our president was the Minister for Foreign Affairs and he took some steps. Now, has there been any finality on this matter? Have they paid any compensation? Because if state actors were involved, then state responsibility under international law would have been triggered. Now, have we pursued any adequate compensation for those whose who lost their loved ones.
I didn't get the question well, but I know that it has to do with the 44 alleged murder of 44 Ghanaians and other nationals in 2005 in Gambia. Nationals of ECOWAS who were on their way to Europe. We all know in the end that there was an ECOWAS and United Nations investigation which came out with a report. The report then said that Yahya Jammeh, president at the time, was not directly or indirectly complicit in the crime. And as a result, in 2009, 6 bodies were exhumed after a meeting with between President Mills and President Yahya Jammeh. It was decided then that they exhume the 6 bodies that were found and rebury them in Ghana. Gambia, as a gesture, accompanied the 6 bodies with 500,000 United States dollars to help in the reburial of the 6 bodies. We're not too sure whether the 6 bodies were actually Ghanaians. I don't know what forensic studies were done on the bodies. But this matter has come up again. And families of the victims are asking for compensation and reparation. Not only that, they are also asking that we look into the matter again, because at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Gambia, some former soldiers who were working for President at the time, Yahya Jammeh, have confessed that they murdered the ECOWAS nationals and that they did it on the orders of the former president. And I think that it is only right that the families would now want the matter looked at again. Not only the families, but also some international...
Minister, will you reopen an investigation into the matter?
We already have made moves, Leader. We have already made moves, Honorable Chairman. We have contacted the Gambian authorities. They have not ended the hearings of their reconciliation committee.
So Ghanaians have been assured that you are reopening.
Can I finish? What we need to do, yes, there is the willingness for us to reopen. However, Ghana cannot do it on its own. Ghana would have to do it with Gambia. They have said that they need to finish and come out with a report. Once they have the report, then we can look at it. And we are suggesting that Ghana, Senegal, and Gambia informally now start meeting on this matter until such time that we can agree on the way forward.
So, Chairman, Minister,
so I am assuring this House,
Minister, if you just allow me, Chairman, with your indulgence, so
that it will be looked at in the informal way.
The Ghanaian public is listening to you. Affected families of the Gambian murder are probably also listening to you. Are they being assured that the government of Ghana, through you as foreign minister, is considering reopening investigations into the murder of Ghanaians in the Gambia subsequent to the Gambia completing its national reconciliation process?
Leader, sorry, Honorable Chair, what I can assure Ghanaians is that I will raise the matter with my colleagues. However, the decision to reopen is a decision that is not taken by myself only, but it would have to be done in consultation with the Attorney General, and then government and cabinet as a whole would have to make that decision. But informally, as I have done already, I have informally raised it with my colleague. So it's not like nothing is being done. However, a decision that would have to be taken to bind the country would have to be taken about.
I'm sorry, I'm coming back again. You've discussed it with which of your colleagues? Because
the Foreign Minister of Gambia.
Okay.
The Foreign Minister of Gambia.
Not Senegal.
Not Senegal yet.
So you'll be doing Senegal.
Definitely. But like I said, the decision will be above us.
Are you done? Very well. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, in your response to the question posed by Honorable Okujeto in relation to the closure of our accounts in Brussels, you indicated that you took steps to ascertain whether something untoward had happened or not. But you remember that after the closure, the EU made a publication that Ghana is one of the 22 countries that they have put on their blacklist. That seriously bruised the image of Ghana in the international arena. What concrete steps did you take as our foreign minister to redeem the image of Ghana?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I believe with regards to the blacklisting, the issues to do with the blacklisting are under the domain of the Finance Ministry. However, Ghana was supposed to take some steps to do with some laws and policies, anti-money laundering, also to do with NGOs, also to do with beneficial ownership, which the Registrar General's Department had worked on. I'm not too sure about the details. I would not sit here to say that I'm an expert on it. But I know that some of these matters came before the 7th Parliament. And I know for a fact that a lot has gone on in terms of Ghana making progress. And so there will be a meeting in February, which Ghana will now present to the EU what we've done so far, the progress we've made, and apply to be taken off the blacklist. That is what I know for now.
So Ghana is still on the blacklist?
Yes, Honorable Chair, Ghana is still on the blacklist.
Second question. Your ministry partnered the Ministry of Trade on a project to promote made in Ghana goods and also attract foreign direct investments. And earlier on, you indicated that you firmly believe in parliamentary accountability. Can you share with the committee the total cost of that project and the impact on our economy?
Can you kindly give me a little bit more information? Because when you said the project, is it the project?
Which specific project do you want her to give you information?
between your ministry and some other MDAs to promote made in Ghana goods and to also attract foreign direct investment abroad, which you did. And then I want to know the impact of that important project and how much the Ghanaian taxpayer paid for that project.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I'm not too sure of this project, but what I know is that as part of our mandate under economic diplomacy, which is to seek markets for made-in-Ghana products and also to attract foreign direct investment into our country, we have embarked on several initiatives. And one such initiative is the Made in Ghana Bazaar that we now hold every year. We've held it twice. Last year we couldn't because of COVID, where we invite indigenous Ghanaian producers to come and exhibit their products. Last year it was highly patronized at the conference center. And what we do is we take an inventory of all these products and the manufacturers, put it in a booklet form. We are looking also to put it on our website in all the missions outside. And in so doing, we can attract joint ventureships and some investment into their businesses. And these are small, medium enterprises, and it's gone down very well. Unfortunately, I don't know, I cannot tell you off the top of my head how much it did cost, but I know that it was something that was very, very useful for the exhibitors.
Now, my last question. What is the status of the $2 million consular emergency fund for destitute Ghanaians abroad? And what exactly are you seeking to achieve with this fund?
Thank you very much. The fund is non-existent, although we have, together with the Committee on Foreign Affairs, we have made a lot of presentations to the Finance Ministry that it is necessary for us to have that fund to be able to deal with emergencies when they happen outside Ghana, where our nationals are involved. I've given the example of these domestic workers who sometimes are just dumped on us at the missions, and it becomes difficult to take care of them. Sometimes our officers have to dig into their pockets to look after them. If we have this fund, we would be able to look after them, also buy their tickets and bring them home. Another typical example is when a footballer went to Russia and died. We had to bring the body back. These are things that we could use the fund for, because we don't have any line item as a ministry to take care of such emergencies. And the Committee on Foreign Affairs in the last Parliament did a lot to try and get us approval. Even if we didn't have the money sitting in our accounts, it's something that we can draw down on as and when it became necessary. We could have used some for the evacuations that we did, because those were emergency matters. Unfortunately, we were not given it, and I'm hoping that if I'm given the nod, I would work with Parliament to ensure that it is done. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Honorable Patricia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, the purchase of our mission in Oslo, Norway, became the subject of parliamentary question during the last Parliament. Honourable, I'm informed that it is a matter in court. Mr. Chair, would you, the honorable nominee, want to make some comments on this matter? Ashada.
Thank you very much indeed. Honorable Chair, the matter is sub judice, part of it. But let me say that the decision to purchase a property in Norway when we opened our embassy, I believe is a decision in the right direction. We all know how much we pay in rents with regards to the properties in our missions. So we followed a laid-down procedure. And the laid-down procedure in the ministry is a procedure that has nothing to do with the minister. The minister cannot take any unilateral decision on the procedure that is laid down for the purchase or the rental of properties outside the country. So, like we always do, we sent officials, and the first instance is officials from the ministry who go and set up the embassy, and then as part of their remit, they are supposed to look for properties, either to rent or to purchase, and also vehicles, logistics. They came back with a report and said they had found properties. They recommended one property. The next thing that we were supposed to do, as per the procedure, was to send a team proper to go outside the country, and per the procedure, per what we do, a team made up of, in many cases, the Deputy Minister for Finance and Admin, also the Director Estates, the Institute of Architects will give us a representative who will become the consultant, also land valuation, and then Ministry of Finance. That's the first step. They would come back with their findings and then let us know what to do. If it's positive, then it goes to entity tender, then it also from there goes to PPA.
Minister,
with regards to Oslo, sorry.
I think that, like you said, I didn't know that the matter was pending in court. I wouldn't have allowed the question, but what you've given is sufficient details. We should leave it here, please. Is that it? Honorable Patricia PJ, you're done. Very well. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable nominee, I wish to refer to the first report of the Appointment Committee of the 7th Parliament, in which the report quotes you as saying, the nominee, well, not quotes you, but reports are saying that the nominee expressed her disapproval of the emerging phenomenon why some Ghanaians, particularly women, are lured by employment agencies to foreign countries on the pretext of placing them in lucrative jobs only to be maltreated. She highlighted the need for authorities to clamp down on activities of illegal travel agencies promising non-existent jobs. And she said, if approved by the House, she will engage her colleague ministers responsible for interior and employment and labor relations to deal with the situation. On that note, I express my disappointment that 4 years after you are back here and the report you have is a lamentation of how every week it breaks your heart to see that still happening. Renovation of foreign affairs. In responding to questions on the conditions of the country's missions abroad, the nominee noted that most of the officers of the Ghana's missions were in deplorable state and expressed her unhappiness about the situation. She hinted that she would make the refurbishment of Ghana's mission abroad one of her topmost priorities if approved by the House. The nominee commended the previous government for securing $50 million for the rehabilitation of Ghana's missions abroad. Now, how have you applied or utilized this $50 million after 4 years, and how come that after 4 years you are not able to raise similar facilities for us to renovate the AICC and its like?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I don't believe that I have come here to lament. I believe what I have done is to state the facts as they are and how I feel about them. Honorable member did say that I assure the committee that I will engage other ministers, and I have done that. We have meetings all the time, meetings between myself, the Interior Minister, the Minister for Manpower, even adding the Minister for Gender to these meetings. And it is as a result of such meetings that we've been able to sign 2 agreements. It is not an overnight matter. Sometimes when you're outside looking in, you probably may think that it's quick, and it can happen. But when you're dealing with other countries, it takes time. And therefore, if I am given the nod, I will continue with my colleagues to engage to ensure that these matters to do with the girls who go out and the agents who subject them to these inhumane situations, we will continue to work to bring it to an end. Also to do with AICC and by extension, the 50 million, I said when I started that the 50 million is very handy. However, 50 million does not go a long way when you're purchasing properties outside. I must say that we have not just used the 50 million, but we have also scraped during this 4-year period to use internally generated funds. And with the internally generated funds, we have been able to renovate the Chancery in Abuja. We have been able to renovate the residence in Bamako. We have added on a consular building in Berlin. We have in London, we are restoring and renovating what we call the Cromwell House. We are building, rebuilding, reconstructing in Seoul, in Tokyo. So we are doing stuff outside the 50 million. It is up to the Ministry of Finance, and I hope that they will approve when we approach them for more funds to make purchases or to construct. And I hope that Parliament will give us the support when the time comes for AICC and for other projects. It's very important. So, Honorable Chair, this is what I can say about the matters to do with our properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable nominee, one of the fundamental principles governing our foreign policy is promotion of respect for international law and treaty obligation. And you will agree with me that the basic principle of international law is pacta sunt servanda, where we need to respect agreements that we undertake. Now, Ghana has signed an optional protocol to be bound by the decisions of the ECOWAS Court and the African Court of Human and People's Rights. However, we've had a number of reports that suggest that our courts are unwilling to enforce judgment from some of these courts. For example, in February 2017, in the African Journal of International and Comparative Law, it was reported that the High Court of Ghana declined to enforce ECOWAS court judgment. Do you think this trend can affect international relations and diplomatic obligations?
Indeed, we have signed on to respect international law and treaty obligations. But this question, I would have to seek the information you require from the Attorney General. May I respectfully, Honorable Chair, ask that when the Attorney General comes, this question is put. I would do what is required of me diplomatically, but the real meat belongs to the Attorney General. Thank you.
And actually, for the judiciary, the Attorney General may not even be able to answer why the judges refuse to. But there's a legal part to it. I'm sure he knows. So. Yes. Now I'll come to leadership. Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Muntaka first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to find out from our colleague nominee when she was answering the question on the closure of the account. She said they told us that they were not obliged to give us reasons. They were not obliged to give us reasons. That's what you said. But you are aware that we've been blacklisted by the European Union. And I was wondering whether you could not relate the reasons why the European Union has blacklisted us to the closure of the accounts.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, if you recall, soon after the closure of the account, the EU ambassador made a statement that it had nothing to do with the closure of our account, has nothing, or the blacklisting of Ghana is not the reason why accounts have been closed, because in her opinion, they are not related. But I can, Honorable Chair, when we sought to find out from the bank, they said, we are pleased to confirm that our decision to terminate our business relationship is exclusively based on an internal ING business decision. We can also confirm that the letter you have received on 13th August does not constitute an opinion by ING Belgium SA on the risk profile of the Embassy of Ghana as client of ING Belgium SA. This letter should thus not be interpreted as if ING Belgium SA considers the embassy to be under suspicion of corruption or financial malfeasance.
Do you recollect how long, or do you have any information at your ministry to give you indication how long we've operated this account? How long we've operated the account that's been closed?
I do not know, but I can always find out how long we've operated it.
Memory serves me right. You've served on the Foreign Affairs Committee for about 8 years before becoming the Foreign Minister, right? Is it 4 or 8 years?
4 years.
On the Foreign Affairs Committee?
Yes, I was ranking member for 4 years.
And not a member in the other 4 years? I thought you were a member before you became ranking.
Chair, if I can check for a minute. As we grow older, we get to forget things. The committees that I've served on, actually it's 4 years.
Because
The first 4 years, I was deputy minister at the foreign ministry for a period. 2013 to 2017, I was on communications and I was on communications.
Oh, okay.
And,
so I'm surprised you could not tell how long we've been operating that account, but I'm sure you should know that we've operated that account for more than a decade.
Okay. It won't surprise me at all that we've operated it for that long because we don't move accounts that easily.
But I said that they gave you the statement and you went through the bank statement and you did not see any transaction apart from what normally will be operated by the embassies.
That is so, Honorable Chair.
So is it possible?
3 years going back on all the accounts.
So is it possible for us to have a copy?
Yes, if the committee wishes to, very much open to. Honorable Chair, let's not forget that when this thing happened, I said that we should have a joint mission to Brussels. And the Honorable, can't remember his name, but he was on that mission. We went ahead to procure visas and all only for COVID to spike, and we had to abort the mission. So yes, I would gladly avail the bank statements to the committee.
You were asked about the agreement with the McDonald, with the U.S. Defense or the U.S. Embassy, and you said you were not aware. Is that what you said?
That is correct. I'm not aware. I wasn't privy to that agreement.
But isn't it not worrying that you are in charge of our foreign policy and a foreign country such as U.S. Army or U.S. Embassy will enter into an agreement with a Ghanaian company that is managing our property, and all of you don't show interest to know exactly what the agreement is about?
I don't want to proffer an opinion on this, but I believe that if I were to dig, I may find a copy. I'm not too sure whether our ministry was furnished with a copy. Well, we may have been. But what I do know, what I have a copy of is the Defense Cooperation Agreement that I do have a copy of.
I know your ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has a research unit. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has the research unit that works even almost all our embassies, right? And they try to make sure that we are abreast with whatever is happening with regards to our country and our country's interests. Am I right?
Correct.
So is that not a very good reason why, when such an agreement is there, even if they do not provide us copy, we should be interested in knowing the content of those agreements so that we'll be sure that our national interest is protected?
That is correct. Honorable Chair, with regards to the research department, they are not directly under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Well,
and so they don't report to us.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So, Honorable Nominee, if when giving this nod, will you take interest to know what's happening because our national interests are at stake?
Yes, it's something that is of interest to me. So I think my ministry usually should be furnished with copies of agreements, as well as the Attorney General's Department.
Honorable Mutaka, I think that when the Defense Minister nominee was answering question, he stated as a fact that the agreement between the MacDan agreement is between MacDan and GACL. Okay, and then he underscored that under the Defense Cooperation Agreement, it's between government of Ghana and the U.S. And that has nothing to do, the agreement, yes.
That's not what he said. He said he was not a party to it. And we were wondering that in charge of our defense ministry, he should be interested, even though it was between the U.S. Army or U.S. Embassy with a Ghanaian private company managing a portion of our airport. And I thought that was security, there are security implications. And those in charge of security should be interested. And then he said that, unfortunately, he was not part, but he was hoping that maybe the foreign ministry may have more information. And now we have the foreign minister also not aware or doesn't have a copy of the agreement. Obviously, because it's between a government and Ghanaian private company. Naturally, if you don't take keen interest, you may not be part of it. But I was thinking that because of securing our national interest and securing our our territorial integrity, our representatives in both foreign ministry, national security, interior ministry, defense ministry should be interested. That was why I was asking, if given the nod, whether she would consider seeking to know the content and how our interests could be properly protected.
Proceed with your next question. I think. No. Please, let Honorable Mutaka proceed, please.
Because of what you say, if you permit me, I'll just read the Hansard of 19 February 2020, which was answered, a question answered by the then Aviation Minister, Honorable Kofi Adam, and it is column 024, that's 24. And Mr. Chairman, with your permission, paragraph 3.1, ground floor. The Ghana Civil Aviation Authority has rented out the ground floor of Terminal 1 to MacDan Aviation for use as a logistic operations center for a period of 15 years from January 2019, pursuant to the Ghana government agreement with the United States of America. MacDan has also signed a management agreement with the United States military and provide logistics and handling services to the U.S. military through Terminal 1, fixed-base operations. This was what the then Aviation Minister told this House, and this official record of Parliament, Wednesday, 19 February 2020. So that was why I was thinking that those who have the responsibility of protecting our national interests and territorial integrity, at least should know the content. So she's giving an assurance that, given the nod, she will take interest to know what the content is about.
Honorable Chair, I give the assurance. I'm interested in to find out what's in the agreement, and also to ensure that we have a copy lodged in our ministry, in our consular and legal section. Thank you.
Honorable Nominee, I do not have the date, but very recently, our sister country, Nigeria, almost had a diplomatic problem with us when their portion of their embassy or compound that they own, they claim to own in Ghana was demolished. And I remember you granted an interview, you said you were working at it to ensure that whatever challenges there was will be resolved amicably. Yeah, it's gone quiet. It's my belief that maybe you've been able to resolve it. But what were really the issues that necessitated the demolition of their, or is it part of the embassy or a property that they own in Accra?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, Nigeria was allocated land during the time of the late President Rawlings. It was an arrangement that was agreed upon between President Rawlings and I believe President Obasanjo. So land was allocated to the country. They paid for the land, okay. However, after paying for the land, they did not go ahead to get a lease, to process a lease, and eventually land title for the land. So that whole area, which is just behind the Independence Avenue, part of the land is on the Independence Avenue, part of the land is behind. That whole area is land owned by the Osustu, it's vested land. And so it's managed by Lands Commission for the Osustu. So in their records, there's no owner for the land. So the Osustu, also from my understanding, also gave out the land. And of course, the land was processed at Lands Commission. But because the land, they hadn't processed the lease, and also did not have land title, there was no record, from my understanding, at Lands Commission. Although they had constructed a fence wall around it. I think eventually they decided to construct a building on it. Unfortunately also, they did not go to get a building permit. So also at, I believe, the Kole Klote Municipal, there was no record. So this land was given out, it was sold to somebody, who then decided to come onto the land. And so when he came, he destroyed the fence wall and started demolishing, because he thought, I guess, that his land had been encroached upon. And that is how this whole thing started. So when we came in, and there was back and forth, when we came in and we tried to resolve the matter to find out, we asked for their documents, it was then that we found out that they only had the receipt of their purchase, but there was no record anywhere. However, because of the strong relations that exist between our two countries, and the fact that whatever it is a diplomatic enclave, because it had the residence facing the Independence Avenue, and it was to the back of that and to the right. So it was the issue of the Vienna Convention kicked in, the inviolability of diplomatic residence. So we quickly had to find a solution, and the solution was that we encouraged them, first of all, to perfect the title, and also because of the importance we attach to the relations, we decided that we would construct the building to the level it was at before the demolition occurred. At the moment, a contractor has been assigned the building, and very soon I'm told that they will start construction, because the demolition, although they didn't demolish the whole building, is such that it has affected the structural integrity of the building, so it would have to be demolished and rebuilt.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's been close to a year since this happened.
Sorry?
I'm saying it's been close to a year since this happened.
Yes.
So I hope you take steps to ensure that there's no further delay, so that it doesn't deteriorate into another.
Yes, please. We are worried about the delay, Honorable Chair, but it took them a while because we gave them the option of whether their contractor should reconstruct the building, or whether we should give them a contractor. It took them quite a bit of time to get back to us, but they came back to us and said we should use our own contractor. So the process is going on, subject to Ministry of Finance quickly providing us with the funds.
Mr. Chairman, in an answer to an earlier question about the Accra International Conference Center, I heard you say it was not in good shape.
Yes, Honorable Chair, it is in bad shape.
So since when did you realize this, that it wasn't in good shape?
We realized that a while back. Now, what it is, I'm not a structural engineer. However, how I was made to understand, when you go down to the basement, you will find that a lot of the pillars that hold the conference center is
it's weak, or it's
very weak. It's very weak.
It's glaring.
Apparently, it was a waterlogged area when the building was constructed, and so they used the technology that had the boulders or whatever they called on top. Now it's sort of eating it up, and I hear there's new technology. I'm not too sure. So the issue was whether to strengthen the weak pillars that hold it. Several engineers, structural engineers, have come to look at it, and they are saying that it's not a good idea to do that.
So will I say maybe it's been 4 years since you noticed this?
I'm afraid. I'm afraid for...
Maybe it's 4 years since you noticed this weakness?
It's less than 4 years that it was brought to my attention, because we kept...
So maybe 3 years?
Yes, we always were trying to...
Why didn't you take steps to close it down?
Well, we've taken steps, and we've come to the realization that it's not something that we can do some patchwork.
But it's still operational. We are still using it. I remember we had to go and far past the body of former President Rawlings there.
Yes.
And a number of ECOWAS and other meetings have been held there.
Yes.
So all this while you were risking the life of all those who were going there.
No, that is not the case.
No, but if you knew it was weak and you kept it still open, you have not notified the public, you've not closed down the place. Obviously, with attendance and programs there, it will collapse. Because it's not going to announce to you that I will collapse on Thursday or Friday. Once we are using it, if you are not careful, one day it just collapses.
Honorable Chair, the Honorable Member has put me on the spot, but these are decisions that would have to be taken, and we've taken steps to start a process.
I agree she's not a technical person, but she's gotten the benefit of technical people's advice, but the decision to whether continue allowing the place to be open or closed is hers.
Well, what the engineers have said is that it doesn't have a long life, and so we should take steps to do something about it. They have not said so far that it will collapse on us.
So
it's just my fear.
I hope that when given this nod, you will take the necessary steps to get the right things done.
Absolutely.
Get the place closed and get it properly fixed before maybe you have an accident. That's an assurance.
It is an assurance.
Mr. Chairman, when she was talking about our embassy in an earlier question, answer to a question, and New York came, she said a number of times we've had notice to close the place down and they have to intervene to keep it open. Is that right?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
What happens to the... I knew there was this agreement for build and share. Or is it build, operate, and transfer? What happened to those agreements, those discussions?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, indeed, New York is a major issue. But we've reached far in terms of the process to get an investor to build, operate, and transfer. Until I left, the last week before I left, the investor came because he was also looking at the numbers, how many years, what looks like a mortgage, so to speak, to recoup his investment. And he wanted 55 years. And I said there was no way that I could commit the country to that. But they brought a lot of evidence, and we went down to 49. I said I don't want to see the 50 figure, to 49.5 or so. So that's where we are. He'll bring it, we'll look at it, it will come to Parliament, Parliament will have its input and all of that. So that's where we are. They're crunching the numbers. We have engaged a transaction advisor who is advising us. So that's where we are. It's a matter of the numbers and what is acceptable to us.
I hope we'll soon get a closure on that so that we can rescue their property. You know, it's at a very prime area in Manhattan, right?
Yes, right in the center, Fifth Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, when she was answering a question with regards to Gambia, you said it will not take only you, it has to get cabinet, even the Gambia as a country, talk together to be able to come out with something, to be able to deal with it. Is that right? You said that, right? But, Honorable Minister, Honorable Nominee, you are aware that cabinet discussions are not verbal. You have to put it on a memo, take it. So, when do you hope, if given this now, when do you hope to take that steps to initiate the process? Because you have to take interest in it.
More than ever, we need the cooperation of the Gambian government. Unilaterally, it will be almost impossible for us to do anything. They have told us that they're going through their process. They want the report to come out. Once the report comes out, then they'll be able to have formal discussions with us. So I'm hoping we are ready. We are ready because it's our nationals and the families are here. So we are ready to engage. But we want to be able to engage them formally with the Senegalese so the three foreign ministers can sit down and chart the way forward. It's very important. And if we're going to use international investigators to now come in and do a proper investigation, so be it. But that would be one of our recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to find out from you your clear-cut foreign policy objective. Clear-cut foreign policy objective in relation to our new national security strategy. How you intend to work and when you think we may have to use our military in our foreign policy. use our military, our armed forces.
I don't know about using our armed forces, but one of the major pillars of our foreign policy, our objectives, is peace and security in the region, which is why His Excellency the President came up with the Accra Initiative, because of our neighbors or what is happening in the neighborhood, especially in the Sahel, and the likelihood of these terrorist issues becoming an issue here. So, President brought together countries like ours, Togo, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, to also now prepare. We've been able, fortunately, to put it on the agenda of ECOWAS. And ECOWAS has come up with the Counter-Terrorism Action Plan 2020-2025. And one of the good things about it is that before we ask outsiders to help us, we are on our own contributing to the fund so that we can use it to fight terrorism. So that's one of the major pillars is peace and security. And these moves are being made to ensure that we have a peaceful, secure region, and especially Ghana.
Honorable nominee, when the defense minister was here, we asked him about the arrest in Bole, around Bole, the town of Dabla Kuru, where our citizen was arrested by the Ivorian, what do they call it, their police or military, and it's been sentenced for 10 years in December 2020. And he said we were exploring the diplomatic channels. So as the foreign minister, I wanted to find out whether you are aware of this and what are we doing to secure our citizen that is serving in the Ivorian prison.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, the issue to do with, I'm not sure whether to say, okay, he was arrested, Munkaila, around the Dollar Power area, around Bole. And he's in Cote d'Ivoire. We've asked our mission to find out what exactly happened, where he is being kept. And once we have the concrete information, unfortunately, I'm not able to act properly, although I'm the President's representative, to engage and find out what can be done. However, yesterday I received, and it has to do also with boundary around that area, and the allegation that our boundary is being interfered with. So Boundary Commission is dealing with that aspect of it. I am dealing, God willing, if you give me the nod, I will deal with engaging the authorities. But for now, research department is looking into the matter, where he is, how he was I don't know whether to call it kidnapped or arrested or whatever, and we will take it from there, because we need information to be able to approach them, and that is why we have that unit to do that.
Honorable Minister, Honorable nominee, will I get your assurance that this will be one of your top priorities if one, by the grace of God, we approve of your nomination, that you not leave our citizens to be hanging, but you take keen interest to ensure that the right things are done?
I can assure the country that it's already priority on my list, because already we've made some moves. We want to know the charges and all of that.
Chairman, thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Okay. Chair, I'm grateful. Let me begin by commending the nominee for her reassuring words to continuously work with Parliament, and I'm a witness to all the positive working relationship that she had shown during her 4-year tenure of office. But Madam Nominee, if I'm allowed to, I am aware of the Indian-funded Foreign Institute under your leadership. Are you able to apprise this committee what has become of it? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, the ministry was given a facility to build, construct, and set up a Foreign Service Institute, which is really needed for building capacity of our Foreign Service officers. As we speak, we are about 80% complete with the construction. And I'm hoping that in the next few months, that Foreign Service Institute will be operational. Already, we have officers who have been assigned to the institute. And so we are just waiting for the facility to be handed over to us. What was given to us by the Indian government was not enough, and so we have had to use IGF, internally generated funds, to complete it. So any time from now, I can assure this committee that we will commission it.
Honorable Nominee, I recall in the 7th Parliament, I was privileged to be part of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and we traveled extensively across the globe. Now, on matters related to the 50 million Secretary General facility, first of all, I want to commend the MPP government and your good self, because you recall it started from the previous NDC administration, continuity of governance. You supported it, and we are where we are. Regardless of the challenges associated with the withdrawal of funding for development and all that, I realize that if we resort to incremental maintenance of our facilities and properties across the world, it's something that will inure to our benefits as a country, other than, for want of a better expression, wait until the facilities are, destroyed and then we come to renovate. Going forward into the future, what would be your approach in terms of the maintenance of the quality of our facilities and properties across the world? How should we approach it? What model would you recommend?
First of all, I think it is important that we have regular inspection of our properties. What I did when I was minister was to have, when I took over, we didn't have a proper inventory database of all the properties, so we did that. Now, what we need to do is to have regular inspection teams, and I have asked the head of civil service, and indeed, he has posted an estates officer to my ministry. We need to do regular inspection so that we know the state of each property and what needs to be done at any given time. That's number one. Number two is that the Ministry of Finance should give us some money to be able to do renovations. Renovations are expensive, and it becomes quite difficult when we have to conjure money from nowhere for renovations. And that is what has been the plight of the ministry and the renovation of its properties over the years. We have real issues, and we're hoping that we will be able, with the help of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Honorable Chair, that will be it. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Honorable Minority Leader.
Chairman, let me thank the nominee, our colleague, the Honorable Shirley Botchwey, for her renomination to the High Office of High Diplomat of Foreign Minister for our Republic. Now, global politics imposes new obligations on diplomacy, and the emphasis now is on economic diplomacy. Now, when you go to the UN and to ECOWAS and others, you are not reporting the shortcomings of human rights infractions, fundamental freedoms not being respected. What plans do you have for the pursuit of economic diplomacy for the benefit of the people of Ghana?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, economic diplomacy is one of the pillars of this, well, the last government and this government's diplomacy efforts. Gone are the days where you depend only on political diplomacy. Now, every ministry, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, wants to ensure that its activities impact positively on economic development. And so we are mandated to market Ghana abroad, including the huge economic potentials of this country. We are mandated to market the made in Ghana goods, our products outside the country. Also, all our missions are mandated to seek trade and investment opportunities outside, matching them with the private sector here. It is one of the planks, the major planks of our diplomatic efforts. Also, in doing so, we also market the tourism potentials of our country. So this is what we do. And as a result of the efforts of our people outside, together, most of the missions have trade attachés who are involved in trade fairs, and also to afford Ghanaian exporters the opportunities to be able to export their goods outside. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you, Minister-Designate Foreign Affairs. I'm referring you to your handing over notes. You have endeavored in the last few days to expand access with Accra passport, Tema passport, Kumasi passport, and I should add, application center. You indicate that you are running this with a public-private partnership arrangement for a visa facilitation service provider. What is the nature of this private-public partnership agreement?
Thank you, Chair. This is to do with, there are 3 premium packs. This is separate from the passport application centers, we call them packs, that we are opening in the various regions. We have come to realize, Honorable Chair, that there are many people who are willing to pay a small premium, a premium of 100 cedis, to be able to go to an exclusive place, be served tea, and to have their biometric capturing done, and to have their passports issued to them. This has, to a large extent, cut out the work of what we call the middlemen. We call them the Goro boys. So when this idea came, we said, fine, we are going ahead to maintain our passport application centers, which we have opened one in Tema, in Cape Coast, in Koforidua, and in Wa, So we are going ahead and we're going to open the one in Upper East as well as the 6 new regions. But this is a service that some Ghanaians are very willing to pay the extra 100 cedis for an exclusive service. So that is the arrangement we have.
Just stay there. You don't find the practice and the service discriminatory within the provisions of the 1992 Constitution, that a category of Ghanaians will have access to passport at this level and another category of Ghanaians will have it at your premium level. Isn't that discriminatory?
I don't believe so, because we have not compromised at all on our service. So it is a choice that people have. And Honorable Chair, in times past, Ghanaians were paying Goro boys 1,000 cedis for a passport, in addition to the passport fees. Today, that category of Ghanaians do not have to do that. They have the option to come to us. We have the same duration in terms of issuance of passports.
Is that not discriminatory?
I don't believe so. I believe, Honorable Chair, that it's a complementary service.
Who is a private sector person you are doing this enterprise with? And what is the fee payment arrangement under the private-public partnership arrangement?
What's the
nature of the relationship? Who is this private sector partner?
I can get the name in a minute for you.
I'd like to get it, and we'd like to know the nature.
And the nature, I can get the nature as well.
Now, Ghanaians abroad, how much are they expected to pay to renew their passports? Ghanaians abroad.
Honorable Chair, it depends on the country.
So give us 2 or 3 countries.
It is all approved by Parliament. The different countries and certain computations are done to determine how much is charged in each country.
You recall that Chairman himself asked you that question.
Yes, Chair.
There are a number of complaints from Ghanaians abroad of unacceptable difficulties they have wanting to have access to their own passports as Ghanaians. What are you doing to improve the time and transaction period for Ghanaians to have easy access to their passport abroad?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have explained that today, as we speak, we have extended. We used to have only 6 passport application centers all over the world. Today, we have over 30 passport application centers, and there's 12 others that we are trying to open, which means that almost all our missions will be able to issue passports to Ghanaians who so require passports. And this, I think, is something that Ghanaians outside the country are very happy with. Also, they're happy with the fact that we have reduced the price of passports. Passport fees outside have been reduced considerably, and so they're very happy with that too. So I can assure the committee that there's a lot going on in terms of opening passport application centers, which means that every mission will have the equipment to be able to take biometric details of applicants, and also with the increased number of printing hubs, it will reduce the time considerably. Honorable Chair, I believe that the noises, the complaints have subsided considerably. It's not the way it used to be.
Chairman, again, ICAO and other foreign heads of state, as far back 2016, agreed to an improvement in the passport regime and recommended departures from biometric to chip-embedded passports. When will Ghana take off from biometric to chip-embedded passports for its citizens?
Indeed, a lot of countries have migrated to chip-embedded. Our processes are almost at the tail end, and I can assure the House and the country that by mid-2021, which is this year, we will also migrate onto chip-embedded.
Chairman, thank you. Again, I referred to your handing over note. Is it the case in the pursuit of diplomacy that Ghana donated $1 million to Sierra Leone following the 2017 floods, $250,000 to Mozambique, $250,000 to Zimbabwe, and $250,000 United States dollars to Malawi after the hurricanes in that area. Can you confirm that?
Yes, Honorable Chair, Ghana did make those donations. Sierra Leone...
On humanitarian grounds.
On humanitarian grounds, sir.
There are complaints that Ghanaians are not finding their feet at the ECOWAS, even though many Ghanaians serve at that level. What steps will you take to protect and secure for Ghanaians within the ECOWAS, within the diplomatic opportunities and parameters available to you, some security in terms of jobs at that regional?
Thank you very much. There are two issues, Honorable Chair. The first is, how do we get Ghanaians into positions in ECOWAS? It is important that we do, because we are the second largest payer of the community levy, and he who pays the piper, that's the rule, must call the tune. After Nigeria is Ghana. Unfortunately, we are not seeing that. Number two, one of the issues is that there are many employees in ECOWAS who are contract employees. ECOWAS is now going through the process of confirming them. We need to make sure, and we will make sure, and we are making sure that the Ghanaians are confirmed. And also, by the new candidatures unit that has been set up at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will ensure that we get as many Ghanaians, because we have not exhausted our quota. Quotas are given to countries. Unfortunately, because of the deficiencies of language, it is difficult for us to get Ghanaians into ECOWAS, but we are on it.
Chairman, my earlier question was on Ghanaians having access to their own passports. Now, we are also getting some complaints, quite a number, of Ghanaians having difficulty accessing their own country visa to travel back home. What are you doing to ease the opportunities for those category of Ghanaians?
Honorable Chair, the difficulty, if this is being experienced in these COVID times, is all because of the scaling down of our operations outside the country. Many missions, because of COVID and the need to protect our foreign service officers. But if there are emergencies or there's travel that needs to be done necessarily, our officers ensure that they give the service. So if it's during this COVID period, then it is only because of the times in which we live. But otherwise, all the Ghana missions outside COVID times were issuing visas.
Chairman, I'm aware that we pay enormous amount of money as rent to get our diplomatic missions abroad housed. In particular, Geneva, Dubai. There is some property President Nkrumah acquired in London, which is in very poor state, whether your attention has been drawn to it. What I do not know is whether it's a property of Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Ministry of Trade, but there's supposed to be some prime property very close to the elite areas in London, whether you want to pay particular attention to it. Now, in one of the parliamentary decisions we took, it was to encourage you to acquire properties, because the amount of money you spend as rent could as well justify even some ownership of those properties. You want to share any numbers with us? How much do you pay in Dubai or in Geneva a year for rent? And what is it that we can do to have our missions properly accommodated?
Thank you very much. Honorable Chair, like I said earlier, there's the need for us to own our own properties, because all the countries that we are present in, we are there for the long haul, and so there's a need for us to do that. This 50 million has gone a long way to give us a lot of properties. I see here about 13 properties so far under the 50 million. There's a need for us to get more funds, and so I'm hoping that with the support of the Finance Ministry and Parliament, if we come here to seek approval, it will be given us so that we can continue to purchase, because the amount of money, like you said, we are paying for in rent is just a bit too much.
Chairman, understandably, I know COVID has affected economic and probably diplomatic engagements. In your handing over notes, the Norwegian entity called Aker Energy pledged to provide $4.5 million for some thousand Ghanaians in oil and gas. Has the initiative taken off?
I'm not aware that this initiative has taken off. COVID stalled a lot of initiatives.
Okay. Chairman, again, President Akufo-Addo at the G20 summit, there was some commitment by the government of Germany of €100 million, 15 million for technical cooperation and advisory reform, and 85 million in concessionary loan for financing the energy sector. Since the summit, can you provide progress on this?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I believe the Minister for Finance will be better placed to answer this question. I must say that I'm not aware that any of these monies have been paid, but they would go directly to the Ministry of Finance.
Chairman, that brings me to Ghana, UK, and Ghana, EU, subsequent to Brexit. Yesterday, the news is reporting that Amsterdam has overtaken London in terms of transacting share business, and to some amount of over 11, I'm not sure what I got, trillion or billion. Ghana has signed on to an interim economic partnership agreement. Presumptively, at the time, you had one bloc EU, including the United Kingdom. We had signed on to an interim partnership agreement. At that time, the EU was one bloc, plus the United Kingdom. Now, they've severed off as UK. Are we been assured by you, you are taking the necessary steps to negotiate and conclude economic partnership agreements with the United Kingdom and the European Union separately?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I believe that the interim EPA with the EU still stands. What we have done in the last few days, the Trade Ministry has signed a trade agreement with UK, so that our trade between Ghana and UK does not suffer, especially to do with our exporters into the United Kingdom market. So that has been done, an agreement has been signed. I saw a copy of the agreement. Unfortunately, I haven't had the time to read through, but it's been signed. It will go to Cabinet and will come to this House to be ratified. Thank you.
What about the EU? Now the stand-alone EU.
The interim EPA still stands, and what the EPA is expecting is, Europe is expecting is that there will be an ECOWAS EPA which will replace all the interim economic partnership agreements with the different countries. If my memory serves me right, it's only Nigeria that hasn't signed on.
You are constructing some new passport head office. Is that right?
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
Who is the contractor on site, and what is the project cost, and what is the scope of work?
We have already taken possession of the passport office.
What work is taking place at Edu Lodge, and what's the justification for it?
Edu Lodge is the rehabilitation, reconstruction of 3 executive properties with all the facilities that you can think of, which is we're doing in order that when we have guests, VIPs, heads of state, and other high-ranking officials, we do not necessarily have to take them to hotels.
What is the cost of the project? Cost of the project?
If I recall, the cost is about 7 million Ghana cedis. And I can check 7 million Ghana cedis, and I can check from the handing over notes.
That's fine, Chairman. Just my concluding remark is one of a recommendation. Our foreign service officials abroad, I'm sure I can say this without fear of contradiction, apart from the Ghana Armed Forces, they appear very disciplined and loyalty to the state. One of their primary concerns, which was done by late President Mills, but subsequently revised, is the opportunity to be returning home with some category of a vehicle with government just attempting to exempt, and to allow them and their families to come home smiling with some, call it a saloon car or an SUV. Do you want to bring that back? Because they are particular about it. And I think that is a worthy thing to do. I mean, the tax exemptions that is worrying this economy is not the exemption of vehicles for foreign service officials. It's the tax exemptions we give away to foreign companies and other domestic companies in huge sums. Will you bring back the tax exemption regime for officers who have served abroad? When they are coming home, they can have some smiles with their family that at least they will be sitting in our church.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, it was part of the foreign service allowances and regulations that I approved and approved by Cabinet. Unfortunately, that aspect of it came to the 7th Parliament and elapsed with the 7th Parliament. And therefore, if, God willing, I'm giving the nod, Honorable Chair, I will revisit the matter to bring it back to the 8th Parliament, and I hope that it was, I can't remember the committee that was dealing with it, so they can revisit it again. Thank you.
My final is our foreign relations with Belgrade. I'm aware that in one of our interparliamentary unions, which meeting took place in Belgrade, Professor Okwe, then as Speaker, was very much interested in Ghana building renewed ties with Belgrade. I'm aware that subsequently some arrangements have even been done for some Ghanaians through your ministry and Parliament to facilitate the training of some Ghanaians abroad. Can you speak to the progress of efforts by you and the President to renew bilateral ties with Belgrade? Or I should say Serbia, is that right?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, indeed, you know the history with Yugoslavia now, Serbia, and it's important. It's one of the countries that we believe we should have strong relations with. Not too long ago, because of an issue, we had to close down our embassy in Serbia. Now we now have diplomatic relations with them. We have renewed relations with them. We have a property there. So we are looking to very soon refurbish that property and at least open a consulate there. It's very important. We have students there now as we speak.
Chairman, just one more. I know that there are no major shifts in the pursuit of foreign policy. Are we still where we are in respect of the Sahrawi Arab Republic matter relative to Morocco? Are we where we are in respect of the Palestinian question? pay our respect to the UN resolutions, and I end it there, Chairman. I wish the nominee well if she responds to this, my last questions. Where are we in our foreign policy pursuit?
Honorable Chair, we have, as I speak, relations with both Morocco. Morocco used to be a strong ally of Ghana during the Casablanca days before the OAU. We also have established relations with Sahrawi, so that's where we are at the moment. Thank you, sir.
All right, Honorable Minister, I just want to find out what is the status of the Pan-African passport? Myself, the Honorable Chief Whip of the minority, Honorable Yeleche also has, Honorable Yafo, were issued with a passport. But even in South Africa, is not accepted for even identity. Anywhere else in Africa is not accepted. So what is the status of that Pan-African passport?
Thank you very much. Honorable Chair, it's one of the building blocks of having a borderless Africa. Unfortunately, I don't believe that the AU has been able to take a proper stand on it. The same thing to do with the traveling document of ECOWAS in that region, where it's only issued to officials, which is the same thing that is being done with the Pan-African passport. I believe at the time it was the chair, and I'm sure that chairs are issued with passports, but really until such time that all countries decide to accept it, it will be very difficult.
Very well. We thank you for attending upon the committee. You will hear from us, but for now, you're discharged. Thank you.
I thank you, Honorable Chair. I thank members of the committee too.